Hello everybody. Today we'll be discussing about models of organizational change. There are different kinds of models of organizational change and we'll be covering all type of models in this. Now, the different models of organizational change are, the very first is Levin change management model. This is the most basic and the most effective one. Second is McKinsey-Seven model. Third is Kotter's change management model. Fourth is Brooke-Litvin model. Fifth is Vogue redesign model. Sixth is Adkar model. Seventh is Bridge transition model. And eighth is grief model. So basically, there are eight different models of organizational change. And today, we'll be starting with the most effective model and the most basic model, that is Levin change management model. Now, Levin change management model was given by psychologist Kurt Levin. Okay, this was given by psychologist Kurt Levin, developed the force field analysis model to help us understand how the change process works. Okay, although this was developed over 70 years ago, but Levin's force field analysis model remains the prominent way of viewing this process. Now, in this force field model, it represents the two types of forces. These are the two types of forces. The very first is driving forces that push organization towards a new state of affairs. Okay. Now, for this, there are several driving forces in the environment. For example, change in information technology or introduction to information technology, then global and local competition in demographics. Now, along with these external kind of forces, they are the driving forces that seem to originated from within the organization, such as competition across the divisions. Okay, and the leaders, they need to impose his or her image on the organization. The other side of the Levin's model represents the restraining forces. The very first was driving forces that push the organization towards a new state of affairs. And the second kind of model, the second kind of force is the restraining forces that maintain the status quo. Now, these restraining forces are commonly called as resistance to change. Now, why they are called resistance to change? Because they appear as employee behavior that block the change process. They try to they try to block the change process. So stability occurs when the driving and restraining forces are roughly in equilibrium. That is, they are of approximately equal strength in the opposite directions. So the reaction to change, even if these are driving or resisting of employees, will depend on the source of change. This will depend on the source of change and also their position relative to it. Okay, so when an individual or group has initiated certain actions which in turn have to be managed, then they are more likely to display the positive attitudes. They should display only and only the positive attitudes towards the situation and view it as driving forces. Now, in this, Kurt Lewin has given three stages of his model. The very first stage is unfreezing. Now, what unfreezing actually is? These are the three different processes. These are the three main stages of Kurt Lewin model. The very first stage is unfreeze. Unfreezing, is the process by which people become aware of the need for change, that why exactly we need to change, what is the exact demand of change. If people are satisfied with current practices and procedures, they may have a little or no interest in making employees understand the importance of change and how their jobs will be affected by it. So the employees who will be most affected by the change must be made aware of it, that why it is needed, which in effect make them dissatisfied enough with their current operations to be motivated to change. The second stage is change itself. So change is the movement from the old way of doing things to a new way. Okay, change may it can be, and there can be any kind of change in an organization. For example, installing of new equipments, restructuring the organization, or implementing a new performance appraisal system. Anything and everything that alters existing relationship or activities. Okay, this is change. Then the next is refreezing. Refreezing is basically the last stage of this model. Rephrasing makes the adopted new behavior relatively permanent and resistant to further change. Now we can take an example of rephrasing. Examples of rephrasing is like techniques that includes repeating newly learned skills. Okay, any skills that you learned in a training session under role playing to teach how the new skill can be used in real life work situation. Rephrasing is again a very important kind of stage in this model. Okay, now if I talk about the practical steps for using the framework, okay, the very first step, the very first stage that we studied was unfreeze. Now how can you practically implement this stage in your organization? In unfreezing stage, you need to determine what needs to change. Second is ensure there is a strong support from senior management, then create the need for change. Okay, and manage and understand the doubts and concerns. Remain very open to your employee concerns and address them in terms of the need to change. Emphasize the why, that why this change is needed. Okay, communicate the vision in terms of the change required. Use your vision and strategy as supporting evidence. Create a compelling message about why change has to occur. Okay, frame the issues. Try to frame the issues as one of the as one of organization wide importance. Second is change. You should communicate more often, describe the benefits of change, prepare everyone for what is coming, explain exactly how the changes will affect everyone. Okay, do so throughout the planning and implementation of the changes. Try to dispel the rumors. Okay, deal with the problems immediately, answer questions openly and very honestly. Okay, involve people in the process, like you can generate short-term wins to reinforce the change, or negotiate with the stakeholders as necessary. Stakeholders, you can take an example of such as employee organization. Okay, try to involve the people in the process. Then empower action. Provide lots of opportunity for employee involvement. Have a line managers that provide day-to-day direction. Okay, and the third is a refreeze. Now anchor the change into the culture. Identify what supports the change. Identify barriers to sustaining changes. Develop ways to sustain the change. Okay, you can, for this, for sustaining the change, you can ensure leadership support. You can create a reward system. You can establish different feedback systems. You can adopt the organizational structure as necessary and provide support and timely training. Okay, keep everyone informed and supported. So this, then after that you can celebrate your success. Okay, so this is the practical framework. If you are using it in any organization, then you can have this practical implications. Now the key point is that Levin's change management model is a simple and very easy to understand framework for managing change. Okay, by recognizing these three distinct stages of change, you can plan to implement the change required. You can start by creating the motivation to change, that is unfreeze. Okay, then you move through the change process, that is change, and the process ends when you return the organization to a sense of stability. Okay, which is again very necessary for creating the confidence from which to embark on the next, that is a kind of inevitable change. Okay, so this was all about Kurt Lewin model. Okay, so in next slide we'll be covering the different models of organizational change. Thank you and have a nice day.